The head of Google AI says we're not ready for artificial intelligence, and at the same time, they're dropping papers which might change the way AIs learn going forward.
I don't know, Kevin. I feel ready for AGI. I mean, I've been using O3 and Gemini Pro 2.5 to write my fan fiction for Pinky and the Brain.
That is not AGI, Gavin. That's kink. But I digress. There is a new audio model that was released. It's called Daya, and it has me thinking the machines are getting pretty lifelike.
Bruh.
I think the server has to clear its throat, Gavin.
Gotta try to scream? Can I scream? Sick. Very.
Oh my God.
Okay. Also, Kev, it's totally cool to use AI in movies now, or at least according to the Academy of Motion Pictures. What up, Oscars? Have you seen our work with Guy Fieri?
Oh, they haven't, statistically. Also, we're going to dive into the Controverse AI and show you some amazing new video tools that could turn you into the next Martin Scorsese.
I see what you did there, Kevin. Plus, a bunch of robots run a half-marathon AI on.
Oh, and Cluely has a new tool which lets you lie to the people that you're dating.
We got to stop this, Kevin. We can't do this.
You're right. But also, I don't know, just lastly, did you see that someone did make an agentic Vending AI machine? Oh, that's fun to do with bandwidth and latency issues.
This is AI for humans, everybody.
No one's still watching.
Kevin, there is big news in the AI space today. It's funny, it's one of those weeks where like a new model hasn't dropped, but we got a very interesting interview.
Well, a new foundational model hasn't dropped, but there were still 400 releases, and that's how crazy this space is. That we might be like, oh, what a slow week. We didn't get a $50 billion something released.
That's right. But there was a really interesting series of interviews with Demis Hassabis, who is the head of Google DeepMind. And I think one of them really stood out. First of all, he went on 60 Minutes for the olds and like kind of showed off where they're at in a lot of ways. This is a more of a generic kind of conversation with him talking about the ways that AI is going to change the world. He says it might possibly solve all diseases. But then he did an interview with Time where he said something specific, and I think it's a great place to jump off this week. Let's play this clip real fast.
What keeps you up at night?
For me, it's
spiders. Sorry, that was me. Sorry,
it's a question of international standards and cooperation, and also not just between countries, but also between companies. As we get and researchers, as we get towards the final steps of AGI, and I think we're on the cusp of that. You know, maybe we're 5 to 10 years out. Some people say shorter. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a sort of like a probability distribution, but it's coming. So either way, it's coming very soon. And I'm not sure society's quite ready for that yet, and as we need to think that through. And
no, you need to think that through. That's what you need to do with your deep minds.
Kevin,
we don't need to think that through.
He's making the toy. We have to figure out how to play with it. This is the thing.
No. Yes. They're making the nuclear arsenal. They're making the one world order.
Yes.
They're making the unified government, the Skynet. We're the ones that are making the toys with it. That's not for us to think about when we're kicking sand around in the sandbox.
Are you telling me that nukes aren't toys? Because when I was growing up, I thought that was what they were. I'm just kidding. Of course, yeah. So this is an important thing to think about, and this is going to kick off this conversation to jump into, because when you have one of the foundational members of the biggest AI team in the world saying the world is not ready for AGI, we have to discuss this. And Kevin, there are a couple things I want to dive into. First, for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, I'm sorry, but second of all, AGI is artificial general intelligence. No one has a clear definition of this. But the idea basically is that an AGI is a system that can basically do everything a human does. And you might at home be saying, well, my AI can do a lot of stuff. It's super smart. There are a lot of things it can't do. There's a very good benchmark called Simple Bench, which shows off like some of the things that AI can't do. There's a couple other big benchmarks, and benchmarks are ways you test AI skills. But Kevin, the other thing that happened and came out of Google this week that I think is important to talk about is a new paper called The Era of Experience. So have you had a chance to skim through this?
Listen, I'm a huge Swiftie, and this is the era that I I dressed up as for her last concert.
You're right,
when
this
I was
is the Eras tour
inhaling
for
those
Demis
balloons in the
Hassabis.
parking lot. Yeah, I am in on the Era of Experience, Gavin, and I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. But let's walk through it.
Yeah, so here's basically what this is. So this was a new paper from a VP at Google DeepMind. And way back when, you may remember a story where an AI company beat the world's best Go player at Go. And that was a big story about 3 or 4 years ago, kind of before we hit all this kind of AI hype cycle that we're in now. What they were using at the time was called reinforcement learning, which is a style of AI learning where the AI basically plays a game on its own and figures out different sort of scenarios of how to do this. What this new paper from Google is saying, and from Google DeepMind is saying, the era of experience, is that era 1 was this kind of early RL learning, this reinforcement learning. Then era 2 was the kind of LLM world that we're in right now. And that era 3 is the idea that AIs need to learn on their own in the world, right? That the idea basically is the experience that an AI gets from going out there and trying
from interacting with an actual environment, not just from living within a window on a desktop, but actually experiencing things. And then perhaps even more importantly, remembering those things. It can't be an ephemeral session where, oh, I chatted with you and now you know how to diagnose something better or write a line of code better. That needs to be fed back into the long-term memory of the machine so that over years, surprise, surprise, just like a human being, a little flesh vessel, this thing becomes better at all the things from having and remembering those experiences.
Yeah, and to me, this is like a fundamental transformation. And I know this is a relatively dense topic to start our podcast with, but it is something that you at home should be aware of because this is the next generation. We've been talking about robots learning in simulated environments for a while, where NVIDIA talks about these giant factories that they've built in a simulated environment for the robots to learn. In fact, there's a very cool robot video that came out about a month ago and finally got some pickup maybe a week ago from a new company called Intuicell. And what this shows is one of those little, almost like it looks like one of those like unitary robots. It might actually be, but you watch it learn to walk. And this is something, they just turn it on, but they've put this kind of new sort of learning module as part of it. And when you're watching it learn to walk, you can see it kind of almost like what you would see like a baby deer learn to walk, right? Sure. Like it comes out and it's in real time. You watch it kind of learn to balance itself. And this feels like how AIs are going to move forward from this point right now. The limitations people have on these LLM systems, a lot of them are saying is that they're kind of stuck in this idea of human experience or human logic. And there's only so much you can learn from the things that we've done or written about or videos and things like that. Right. This is an opportunity for AIs to learn further. And it is one of those things where you just have to kind of understand this. The paper is dense, but what I've done, and I think you should do at home, is throw it into ChatGPT or whatever AI system you use. Get a college level understanding of it, or maybe you want the grade school level understanding of it. Both are fine, but this is an important thing to really be aware of right now. And partly why Demis Hassabis is saying that AGI is coming. This is all part of that system, I think.
So we can throw our summarized link into the show notes too and make it one click for folks. Let's remove all of the barriers to entry. So David Silver, who is the vice president of reinforcement learning over at Google DeepMind, basically went on, they have their own internal podcast, and he talked a lot about the implications of this paper and where it's coming. I want to play a little bit of the top of that, which has some little juicy, moist little nuggets. I don't like that I describe it that way. It has some sound bites that are interesting. Let's listen.
I guess this is, in a way, you're sort of thumping the table saying large language models are not the only AI.
We're going to need our AIs to actually figure things out for themselves and to discover new things that humans don't know.
So if you remove that human feedback aspect, do you still end up with models that are grounded?
I almost want to argue the opposite.
Oh.
This is sometimes called the bitter lesson of AI.
Oh, let us unpack it. By the way, their audio is so much better than ours. I mean, it really is.
They are Google DeepMind.
Do we call ourselves professionals?
They do have
this
all
is
the
ridiculous.
power of Google behind them. So it is that.
So good. Give me their algo and give me their cloud lifters. So the argument for when you remove the human feedback from the loop, these models getting better or even more grounded. If we go back to that Go example that you mentioned earlier in the show, Gavin, the machine was playing millions of simulated rounds of Go and learning from itself. And it was basically given, if you win, that is reward. That is the signal. So you want to chase the reward and optimize for it. Optimize for winning. If they would have had a human being review all of the moves and all of the play sessions, at some point, the human, even the grand Go champion of the universe, would have snarled from his throne and been like, hey, move 37? No, that's
Don't
not a
do
good
that.
move. One of the worst moves I've ever seen. And that, by the way, is the move that blows everybody's mind and goes, oh, wow, the machine thought of something that the humans clearly couldn't. Again, human in the loop would have said that's not the way. And maybe doctors looking at the way an AI diagnoses a patient, they might say, well, there's no way it could be that because I have experience or whatever. And it could negatively reinforce the model or ground it in a very simplistic human way where we see the tree clearly, but we do miss the forest. And so that is fascinating to go actually pull the human out of the loop, let it learn on its own and see what sort of magic it can create.
Yeah, I mean, and I asked, I used ChatGPT because I wanted to ask it questions about this paper. And one of the things I really asked it is like, does this mean all the LLM stuff we did and we're in the middle of doesn't matter? Because, to your point, Go was doing this like 5 years ago. And really what it said is, no, the difference now is we have all this direct knowledge and logic and all this human stuff that it can step off of, right? So it can have that baked into itself. And to your point, memory is a big deal. Before we move on to the next thing here, I do want to call out a really interesting data viz that kind of points out just how quickly stuff is moving. This is from a company called the AIdigest.org, and they specialize in making very pretty looking data viz, but they threw O3 and some of the other models on a graph, and they talk a little bit about the idea of agentic AI's Moore's Law. So again, the technical term Moore's Law, if you're not familiar, based on Gordon Moore, the founder of Intel, talked about how fast compute would, I think, double or over time, right? There was kind of an algorithmic kind of line to it. They're showing a hockey stick in terms of capability. And in this particular sense, it's how long an AI can work on a task. We talk about these AIs that are starting to bring these experiential life experiences and can start to work for very long times on things. You can see how they could learn very fast. And even if it's not very fast at first, the faster and faster it goes, the better they'll get at it. It does feel like we're kind of entering into, I guess, the next generation of AI learning, which is a pretty big deal.
Well, and we don't have to deep dive on it by any stretch, but just for the folks listening who might not be at the bleeding edge of all this stuff, there was another paper that was released that basically said, like, get ready, this time next year, one of your coworkers, if not more, will be AIs. Like that's a bizarre thing to think of, being employed in a year from now. There's no way that's a future for you or I. But like, if you happen to be one of the fortunate ones, like, you will literally be sending Slack messages or receiving texts or hanging out on Zooms with AI. This is not a new vision, but the timeline is pulled, I think, forward a little more than even some expected. They were saying 2029, 2030, but no, this time next year, you will be asking an AI assistant to fetch a doc. That AI assistant, by the way, is going to come back and give you tasks and make you do things because they'll be operating like a cohort.
It makes me think about our super secret project we're working on and how the idea being going forward is that there could be, you start like shopping for an AI assistant as you would an employee, which is pretty crazy. All right, Kevin, before we go on, there is one more
but how do Shrek feet, how does an infinite stream of Shrek feet, how does that apply here though, Gavin? Because
are we hiring the Shrek feet or are we hiring the thing that will make the Shrek feet? Because I wonder if there's a if there's a Shrek feet agent that we can do. Doesn't matter, Kevin, because the most important thing right now is for you out there listening to think about your own agentic abilities, to go right now to the AI for Humans YouTube page and click that subscribe button, or go to our podcast on iTunes or anywhere else, leave us a 5-star review, or go to aiforhumans.show, check out our website, and sign up for our newsletter, which we have a lot of fun writing every week. These are 3 places you can help us. Kevin, anywhere else they can help us?
Well, in the YouTube comments, you can let us know. Should it be My Feet Feed, Feet Book? I like Feet Book. Foot Book could be good too. But yeah, Feet Cities. Feet Spin? No, just leave a comment. Let me know. Listen, we're still very much in stealth, and you don't know what this app is going to be, but we want the name to really spell it out. Also, we have a Patreon. You could throw $5 in a tip jar there, and that helps, by the way. We've been making withdrawals, and that goes for tool licensing.
That's right. The tool licensing gets more and more expensive every week.
Just to shout that out, by the way, we are tier 4 on OpenAI now. For those who know what that is, great. For those who don't, that means we are bleeding out to Sam Altman. He's building his Stargate with our blood, and it wouldn't be possible without the contributions and the feedback feedback and the help from all of you. So thank you.
All right, Kev, we should dive into what I think is one of the larger stories in the entertainment space, and kind of got covered, but not in a big enough way for my liking. Kevin, the Oscars have now come out and said that AI tools can be used in Oscar-eligible films. That's right, the Academy of Motion Pictures, company that puts on the Oscars, gives out those little gold statues, has now said AI tools are okay. And this has people in their feelings, Kevin. It has people in their feelings in a big way. First of all, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I think I probably know what they are, but let's dive into this. What is your first take?
I'm not surprised. I think this was inevitable. And I think, okay, the devil will be in the proverbial details with what they say. Like, well, the whole thing can't be AI, right? It has to have humans that are leveraging AI as a tool, which is fine and makes sense. And then we'll give way to the AI Oscars that will be a spinoff that happens in a year from now, which will be 10 people in a banquet hall, probably in downtown LA. And then in 5 years' time might be bigger than the actual Oscars.
I kind of disagree with that. I don't think there's going to be an AI awards personally. I mean, there have been. I'm not saying there's
an army of robots watching this clip 5 years from now at a banquet hall, passing around little nuts and bolts aperitifs, and a Roomba's going to go up on stage and be like, actually, Gavin, you suck.
Yeah.
So just careful.
Here's my take. I think this is going to completely just flow right into the regular Oscars.
Basically, it's not a surprise that they're saying, yes, you can use AI because VFX teams are already using it.
Yes.
Script writers are using it. Directors are using it for previs and storyboarding. Like every field is already integrating it. So you sort of have to make this claim.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with the pushback. And what'll be interesting, though, will be the arguments over a movie that is 50% AI generated versus, the first movie with an AI leading character potentially. Like these will be the interesting arguments over the coming years.
And the funny thing is, there was a Reddit post around this in the filmmaking subreddit. So it wasn't in an AI subreddit. So many of them were like, there's like AI is what they use to hype up the things that, we use all the time. That's just hype, the idea they're calling that AI. But really, this is about generative AI. And it's all these people trying to like kind of cross these lines around what AI is and what AI isn't in their brains, because there's almost like this hardcore mentality they've got into where like generative AI is the bad thing. But then they turn on their computer and they use Premiere or they use, Photoshop to do all this stuff. And I just want to tell everybody out there, like machine learning has been used in the entertainment space, especially in the editing and VFX space for a long time. And what they're doing in a lot of ways is the same thing that these generative AI companies are. Now, the training models and all that stuff might be different. And, in some ways that does give you pause at part. But you can't separate this as the idea of like some AI is this and some AI is that. It's way too blurry. And I think this is what the world we're going to be entering in is sooner rather than later, most people in Hollywood will just come to accept these tools are things like they've been using for a while.
Here's the other dirty little secret, Gavin. I think a lot more people are experimenting with and using AI than they let on. They might take to a LinkedIn post or a Reddit, subforum and be like, never, never, never. But I do know a lot of creatives that are starting to whisper a little bit more about like, hey, I did try insert tool here. And I thought this was kind of interesting. This was kind of cool. But then publicly, they're still shouting from the mountaintops that anything AI bad, devil, keep away.
Yeah, and Cristobal Venezuela, the CEO of Runway, said on Twitter, he said, the Oscars being okay with the use of AI filmmaking is not only a step in the right direction, but one that recognizes this technology as a tool that requires an artist to articulate in a meaningful way while using it. I agree with this. I think the important thing is, you're right, we're not to the point where the AI is making the whole thing, and we may not be for a while, although if you've seen some of those Real Short videos, that may not be that far away. We've talked about Real Short, the Chinese app that is just going crazy online. Those are not AI made, most of them now, but you can see how an AI could make that. In this instance, I think it's very cool.
The Times article that actually talks about this particular Oscar story, at the end, Gavin, it says, Demi Moore, a recent Oscar nominee for The Substance, apologized for using an AI app to transform her dog into a human in a photograph. After receiving blowback for the image, which she posted to Instagram, Ms. Moore deleted it, quote, I did not realize by sharing this image, she wrote in a replacement post, it would be in such disrespect to the artists and the creators of the world. She used an AI to turn her dog into a human. And if you griefed her for that, Come at me now. Actually, come at Gavin. Gavin has words for you.
You're the
Definitely
one who's asking
come
for
at
this.
Gavin.
You're the one who's asking
No, but
for this.
I'm doing it for you, Gavin, because I get like, could we let people turn their dogs into people and turn the people into dogs? Can we stop? It's not a disrespect to artists everywhere.
2 years ago, people were doing face swap stuff, and it wasn't this blowback. The reason, it's just because of the way the world works right now.
allowed me, Gavin, a decade ago to elf myself.
Yeah,
How dare you jib and or jab?
Wow, your microphone is overmodulating. Don't get so.
Is it really? Am I getting so?
Yes, you're overmodulating.
I'll scream it from here. Gavin, 10 years ago, the machines were letting us elf ourselves.
Yes, they
Curse
were.
you, jib and jab. You're
By the way,
stealing and disrespecting the artists.
I hate to tell you, that might be like, is that 20 years ago now? 2005 elf
Hold on, let me check Zombocom.
We gotta keep going. We gotta keep moving. Very fast. Gen 48 film contest is happening from Runway this weekend. The deadline is Friday at 12 p.m. EST. If you want to enter, that's a very cool, very fast, make your own video for Runway. It's a way to get on people's radar. If you're a filmmaker in AI, definitely check it out. Also, 3 quick tools that are on the way or out that are worth your time. Haluo Minimax, that's a company we talk about all the time. It's a Chinese AI company. They do video stuff. They have released the character reference tool. And Kevin, I do want to show. So basically what this allows you to do is upload a photo of yourself and put it in all the videos. It's fine. I don't know if you saw these videos I sent you of me in a disco suit walking down the street. My prompt there was like, this person in a shiny disco suit walking down the street and then high-fiving a squirrel. I asked for 4 different variations of it. None of them were amazing, but like it did get what was there, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I think you needed in a parenthetical extra sexy. The model's gotta know what it's working with, Gavin. You gotta tell it explicitly.
That's right. And now we have character AI dropping what seems to be like a Hedra competitor, Avatar FX. So this is now a video generation tool from Character AI, which is surprising a little bit because up until now, they have been really focused on text character generation. Pretty good. It looks pretty good. I think in their mind, this is a way to bring their characters to life. People have been working on Character AI stuff for a long time. Very cool. And then finally, Descript, the company that we've talked about for a while, we often use to edit our podcast, or we have in the past, is opening the doors to what they're calling an AI editor. This is their AI program Underlord. They're going to try to have an AI editor. This is something a lot of people have attempted in the past. I'm really curious to see how it goes. It is not out yet. It is going to come into beta. We have signed up for it. So Descript, if you're listening, definitely whitelist our email. I think it should be interesting. No one has succeeded at this yet. Every company has attempted to say, we can take your podcast and cut it down into video clips, and none of them work. So hopefully this is coming soon.
Gavin, surprise, surprise. I actually got early access to it, and I decided to edit the next 5 seconds of this podcast with Underlord. So Underlord, if you could please just give a bombastic, incredible montage of the highlights of Gavin and I throughout the years.
In the heart of the oven, a transformation unfolds. I was born a pig, now I'm a masterpiece.
Not bad.
Hey, pretty good.
Not
pretty
bad.
Good.
I really am worried about what's going to get dropped in there.
Don't be scared, Kevin.
Kevin, we have so much for this podcast, but we do have to take a quick break for a sponsor. Kevin, I got a problem. When I invoice people for AI for humans, it is up.
I thought this was about the itchy Bernie thing. No, go ahead.
Kevin, I got a problem. When I invoice people for AI for humans, it's very annoying. I'm always trying to cut and paste all these
Gavin,
different fields.
No. Paste is a pizza topping, according to AI. No, there's actually an app for that. It's called Molku.ai. It's a new document-to-document data transfer app that removes the drudgery of updating invoices or swapping information manually. Basically, it automates the whole process. So you only need to upload an input file and it will automatically generate the output document.
You mean you just configure the workflow once and set up the data field that AI has to parse and effortlessly invoice updates across the board, even in Chinese?
Obrigado, Gavin, indeed. But wait, there's more. Did you know that Molku was built with AI?
Oh, wait, hold on. Are you telling me that Molku was built with Bubble.io?
Yes, Gavin, it was.
Bubble.io, the no-code platform that makes AI-powered apps from single prompts?
The same one, Gavin. With Bubble.io, creating scalable, professional-grade AI apps is as easy as typing an idea into a prompt, and then Bubble's AI generates the backbone of your app instantly. And then you can customize everything visually. There's no code required. You can point, click, drag, and create your vision.
And they've got plugins for all the latest APIs like GPT-4o or Claude, everything you might want to put your app together.
Yeah, and Molku is just one of the examples of how Bubble is making complex AI-powered apps super easy for everyone that's listening.
Go check out Molku at Molku.ai and see the sort of things that Bubble can build for you, and tell them AI for Humans sent you. Tell them.
Konnichiwa. Gavin, you and I love experimenting with a lot of AI sound tools, whether that's making music or realistic text-to-speech, sometimes speech-to-speech. And a new model came seemingly out of nowhere, as these things do, that promises to, in many ways, beat 11 Labs, which is a very, very well-funded foundational sort of industry leader in all things, beat a bunch of competitors. It runs near real time if you have just a single GPU, so it doesn't require a ton of processing power. It promises expressive human voices. It can cough. It can scream, sorta. It does all of these things. And Gavin, to me, the most interesting part is not only that it's open source, it's free for everybody to poke and prod at, but that it was made by a team of 1.5 human beings.
Yeah, this is crazy.
In the span of 3 months. It's a new open source voice model called Daya.
Let's take a listen to what they're sharing as the example. And I do think we want to dig into a little bit how this was made too.
Daya is an open weights text to dialogue model.
Generate ultra realistic dialogue like this.
Uh-huh.
You also get full control over scripts and voices.
Wow, amazing.
Try it now on GitHub or Hugging Face.
How does it hold up to 11 Labs Studio and Sesame 1B?
Well, listen and decide for yourself.
So now that little sound part sounded a little bit rushed to me, not my tempo,
yeah,
if you will. But here are some examples now. This is a really good way to put it. Again, Sesame was the real-time-ish voice app that we tested out a couple weeks ago and thought it was very, very human-like, very performative. Again, 11 Labs is a very, very well-funded foundational leader in text-to-speech. But here we go. These are the examples.
Daya was built by a tiny team of 2 people with no funding.
Whoa, really?
Pretty crazy, huh?
Progress in open source AI is completely crazy.
Yeah.
Even this conversation was AI generated.
What?
Okay, so that was Daya, a 1.6 billion parameter model, again, made by 1.5 people, one full-time person, someone else helping out. But here we go. This is 11 Labs, which is, again, a very, very well-funded foundational model, big leader in the text-to-speech space.
Daya was built by a tiny team of 2 people with no funding.
Whoa, really?
Pretty crazy, huh?
Progress in open source. AI is completely crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, I'll stop it there. So
I think,
sounds a little bit more robotic. It might not be a one-to-one example.
Yeah,
though,
we have to be aware this is being put out by the Daya team as a way to show the differences, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's not a one-to-one example. With 11 Labs, it's usually generating a voice at a time. So I don't know if maybe they use the studio feature to try to stitch them together or have them go one or the other. But, they clearly trained their model to be podcasty, conversational, people stepping on each other, the human-like qualities of a laugh or a gasp or a breath. They really put those in there. But if it truly is such a small team in 3 months with basically, they say no funding, they did get some help from Google and that they got some spare processors that they could train their model on. But I played around with it, and out of the box, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so I think the lesson here is really interesting. One is, I think, as we've talked about in the show before, audio is going to lead the way in terms of the next generation because it's easier to work with, right? The files are smaller than video. It's easier to train an audio model. This is a big deal. It already has 6.5 thousand stars on GitHub. Also, you can go use this on Hugging Face right now. Kevin actually created some of his own audio that we showed at the top of the show. And what's cool about it is it's all local. So you could do this on your own thing. You could do this on your own computer for very little compute. So you can imagine, Kevin, what a scaled up version of this could look like. Or if these guys can train this, it does feel like a pretty big step in the right direction. And it just points to a future where when you think about the cutting edge video models, whether it's Kling or whether it's Runway or Sora, in a couple years, a version of this will come for them, right? And when a version of this comes for them, it opens the door to so many other things. But for right now, this is a very exciting thing for us personally, because like we are working in a space that is kind of around this area. But more than anything, it's cool to see just something like this kind of come out of the blue and surprise us.
Sick. Very.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
I know, guy Fieri.
And is he with Hot Dog Shrek?
AI for humans is the absolute worst.
Oh,
okay. I love the cough. I love just putting in a cough after every line, and I think we should adopt that as our new thing, Gavin.
That's pretty fun. So that's an example of what Kevin created with it. It is a very interesting. Go play with it today. We will put the links in the show notes. All right, Kev. Next up, there was a viral video that went insane this week, and when I say went insane, it got like 10 million plus views across multiple platforms, probably more. I think it was just 10 million on X. This is a new company from the kid who got kicked out of Columbia for cheating on his interview exams with a program that he made that allowed him to see things on his computer that the other people could not see. So this was Chungin Roy Lee, who actually got pretty famous when this happened. They interviewed him on Hard Fork and a bunch of other places, is now back with a product that allows you to kind of do the same thing. So Cluely is basically a downloadable program that allows you to have a screen up on your computer while you're talking to somebody and they can't see it. So the thing that went viral about this, Kev, if you saw the video, it was like a far future version of Cluely where I think this is Roy sitting across from a woman and kind of lying to her about who he is. And it's like a scenario where he's seeing a screen.
Outright lying to her.
Yes, outright lying. And by the way,
is,
that's what they're
is,
using as their marketing speak, is like that
worked.
you
We're
can lie to
talking about
anybody. I think this is really interesting because A, it's not what they're promising in the video yet, but also to me, this feels like a way that we're going to see AI plus people going forward. And some of the times you're not going to know that people are using AI.
Yeah, I mean, once it's in the glasses or real time within the AirPod, if you will, someone might have a coach guiding them through anything or helping them navigate a conversation. You know, the way that they marketed it is either brilliant or absolutely disgusting, depending upon how your bubble is filtered on X. But if you go to the actual site, you know, you can download it now for Mac, Windows coming soon. The way they're marketing the app is not necessarily to cheat on dates, but it's to cheat on any Zoom conversation, on a sales call, on an internal meeting. This AI will listen, will watch, and will in real time suggest follow-up questions or answers or give you information on something if you're unsure what it is. And I mean, we've all been on meetings where we might have zoned out for a second and gone back to the old Wordle and then clocked back in, and you have to say, about what you just said that I definitely was listening. So like, is it cheating to have a real-time note taker suggest stuff to you? But also like, if you're relying on tools like this, then be careful because you might be automating yourself out of an existence because
exactly.
If all you can do is contribute what the AI is doing, like I said earlier, in a year from now, when there's AI coworkers, we don't need you to be the interface.
No, and then the other side of this is, are we just going to get closer to AIs, right? Like, so one of the things I think about a lot with this, and I wrote about this in our newsletter this week, is it makes me think a lot about the idea of these things called daemons from the His Dark Materials book series or movie series, The Golden Compass, where you basically are born with something that's kind of attached to you. It's a little animal, but it's like part of you, right? And so I think what's going to happen going forward, maybe not now, but at least in a year or two, everybody will have an AI, and there will just be an assumption that you are getting information from that AI while you are talking to people. And that is a really different way of thinking about being a human being. And I do think 5 years from now, people who aren't doing that will fall behind in a big way.
The last thing here, which is something that I think is kind of interesting, Gavin, is that like I actually think the product is super interesting. I mean, we've all talked about augmented reality where you get another layer of context on a conversation. One of the major issues that I have is because they are marketing it in the way that they are, their site is all about cheating, about hiding it, about this, that, the other, which I get that's their lens, but it makes me not want to trust it with recording any of my calls or data. If I'm on an important work call, or if you and I are discussing feet space or whatever we end up calling it, if you and I are having those chats, like, why would you know what I mean? It's a psychological barrier of like, oh yeah, go ahead and give all that information to the company that's all about cheating and hiding and obfuscating. You can trust them with your data. Like that to me is where it kind of falls short. I don't want to download it and try it out because of that.
You know, that's super interesting, Kevin. And that leads us into a new segment that we're going to start this week called, Does This Kind of Suck?
Does this suck? Yes, it does.
All right, today in AI Suck, we have a story that I saw on X, and I don't want to be mean to the people that are making this. I don't really necessarily agree with this, but I do want to call it out because to me, this kind of sucks. One of the things that you've talked a lot about is the idea that so many things that are on the internet are bots, right? That the idea that many things that are writing comments in different places on the internet are bots. So a woman named Savannah Fetter on X posted a new trailer for a company that she's working on. Let's take a listen to this.
Watch me build an AI agent over the next 60 seconds that sells your product for you. The first step is to head to Astral and tell it the kind of agent you want to build. For this demo, we're going to market a project management platform. At this point, Astral's created a flow showing the steps the Reddit agent will take. Now, let's run it. Watch it start off by finding dozens of relevant posts mentioning project management in r/Notion. The Reddit agent looks for people requesting new features that our product supports and flags them as potential leads.
Okay, so far, Gavin, just if I can speak through the dubstep here and synthesize this, it is creating an agentic workflow that based off of the task, in this case, market to this particular type of user. It is going out, searching Reddit, finding users that might be a target-rich environment for this product. This doesn't seem like anything out of the ordinary.
Keep playing the clip. Keep playing it.
There's more? Okay.
It then writes a comment empathizing with the poster's pain points and subtly recommends our product in a way that sounds like it came from a real person.
I might have hit pause a little soon, Gavin.
So this is the crappiest use case of AI, in my opinion, because here I understand everybody out there is hustling to get their customers and bring new customers in. But actually, I go on Reddit a lot. You can find me there. I'm at Gavin Purcell, one word. I like Reddit because it does start to feel, when you find your communities, there's a way that you kind of feel a part of something. And the idea that a company is actively going through Reddit and commenting as they were a person, trying to draw people in, makes me feel so icky. And I really think this is not great. And again, no knock on the hustle.
I'm sure Astral would say, hey, people do this already. They're already manually using AI to reply to things, and we're just automating the process. But one has to be against the terms of service somewhere, right? Unless the account is registered as some sort of bot or whatever like that. That seems bizarre to me. So I want to flag that and be careful. Number two, though, Astra, you have the chance to do the funniest thing ever, which is target Reddit user Gavin Purcell. And in every post he makes from here on, just have a sea of people like Spinach Lover 2017, have them reply and be like, Gavin, you're so right. Whatever the hell you were just talking about is so true. Have you ever thought about using Astra? You seem like the kind of person that would really benefit from it. And if you could just
I'll flip it on you, Kevin. This has all been an Astra ad all along. I've been paid to do this, and you had no idea.
Oh, no. Seriously,
anyway,
can I get a cut?
I'm not a big fan of this, and I think it doesn't shittify the internet in a way that you've talked about for a while.
Yes, and look, I think we're already here. We're just seeing the productization of it, and it's going to be in the hands of many more. This is not a problem that is going to solve itself. The platforms are going to have to police this sort of thing and clamp down on it. I can think of 10 different ways it would be very easy to use AI to flag accounts that are doing stuff like this, but this is the sort of cat and mouse game that has always existed across every form of everything. But I agree. Let's round out the segment. Should we decide if it's AI suck? And brand it?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Almost like our old shenanigans bit on Attack of the Show.
Everything old is new again.
I vote suck.
Oh, Kevin, no.
I'll say it again.
No,
I vote suck. Put the stamp on the screen, Will.
Okay, no.
Suck.
Do it on Gavin's face. Do it on Gavin's face. But maybe we change it to slop or not or something, and we decide if it's slop or not.
This kind of slops? Is that what you're saying? That also sounds pretty bad.
No, is it slop or not? Is it AI slop? Not slop on certain. Okay, what do you want? Okay, whatever.
There's definitely a stamp on
Kevin's forehead. You want sludge or fudge?
suck. It says suck right on Kevin's forehead.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't say that. And another example of that, Gavin, was a Pollinator 3000 dropped a clip called Marketing in 2025, ladies and gentlemen. I'll play 2 seconds of it.
You want to talk about something controversial? So Benny Blanco hits me up, right?
No way.
Sends me this
Benny
clip.
Blanco?
Yeah. It sends me this clip, and it's the Kid Leroy speaking on a podcast. So I start watching it, and just check this out.
A lot of people think me and him got beef or whatever, just because he kind of sounds like me, you know?
All right, so the audio actually totally checks out. If you're watching the video, it's a video of Logan Paul on his podcast having a chat, and they're talking about this clip that they saw. And in this clip from the podcast, they reference that the clip that they're watching in the podcast is generated with AI, Gavin. And they go, wow, what a brilliant marketing strategy. This AI clip is designed to get you to watch it and go, what are they talking about? This young kid that's making music. I should go listen to the music. And then they say in the clip from the Logan Paul podcast, we should listen to some of the music because it's actually fire. And they go and they listen to some of the music. The entire thing is
all
AI.
AI.
The AI clips from the podcast, or the clips from the podcast have been modified with AI to have a conversation about a fake clip that was also generated with AI. And it's got hundreds of thousands of views. Look, we've said this kind of thing is coming. I worry about it more when governments start wielding it as if there aren't already. But this is here, and so many people were fooled by it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I overall think AI marketing is going to come at people and they're going to have no idea what's going on with it. The thing that people might have an understanding of what's going on with is, Kevin, in Beijing last week, the robot half marathon was run. And by the way, this is the most entertaining clip I have seen on the internet in a long time.
Not slop.
It's not slop. These are real robots. And we've talked about how in China, the robots are very advanced. They're doing lots of stuff. There's a clip that we're going to play here on the video podcast. We'll put a link into here of somebody from Reddit uploaded what was essentially a long video of every robot that passed them by as they were walking by. There's a ton of coverage across many news outlets for this. But Kev, I want to watch this video together because each one of these robots, some of which I've never heard of or seen before, has its own kind of vibe, right? So when you bring this clip up, the first thing you see is it's a very big actual half marathon, but then you see there's robots running, and I think the robots each ran at different times, but you first see a tall robot, then you see a little kind of tiny robot on a leash that almost looks like a kid. Then we get to a hooded robot that is kind of
a little
stumbling,
sun
maybe
hat protecting the lenses and its little robot eyes from lens flare, and I like that. He's also got boxing gloves.
Yep, the next one is kind of a little stiffer gait in general, but there are people running next to these to make sure they don't fall down. We've got a kind of a slower robot. What's amazing when you watch this is just the variety of these and how many of these exist in China. I love the little tiny ones. The little tiny ones are really fun to watch.
Little tiny guys. There's a little guy that looks like a lunchbox with a Kinect camera on his head.
Oh yeah, he's great.
And I just want to root for that little squirt because he's doing the best that he can.
I like at the 1 minute mark, there's somebody who's clearly pushing the robot along, who's got his hand on the back, and then when he takes his hand off, it falls over. This is the one that iShowSpeed was working with, I think.
It's Robot at Bernie's is what that clip is. They're basically holding it up.
And then if you look at the one that comes up around 2 minutes, it's is this really running, or is it kind of speed walking in place? Oh, and then yes, there is a weird AI girlfriend who doesn't look like she's walking at all. And then finally we have my favorite.
Is the next one.
The little robot who's got his arm up. Dude, not a great look robot.
R2 Swag 2 was just letting the audience know that his robot heart goes out to all of them. But he is in a full tracksuit. If you throw down even the tiniest piece of cardboard, that thing is going to break on it.
That's right. So these are all very fun robots to watch. And again, what's cool about this clip when you watch it is this is where China is. They have 30 different companies working on this. And we've talked about some of the bigger ones, but they're moving fast. They're moving very fast. And Kev, I don't know. Somebody said they saw a Unitree robot in San Francisco recently.
Oh, cool.
And I think it was in our Discord they talked about it. And to me, I haven't had that experience yet, but I think when I do, it'll be like a Waymo thing when you first see it in that way.
I saw my first big four-legged robotic dog at CES, and I was like, whoa, and I didn't want to get near it at all because it was sort of spinning about. And I'm like, I don't know what software stack it's running. I have no idea what company here is pitching that. And then very quickly it was people get out of the way, I have to get to the elevator. Like it was down there doing demos for hours, and you immediately, just like your first Waymo ride, you snap 1,000 photos, you text all your friends, and your second one, you're just like, oh, let's just get there already. Like you very quickly become desensitized.
Kevin, it's time for us to go through the stuff that we saw other people doing with AI this week. It's time for AI See What You Did There.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care, then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
Well, Kev, we're going to start off here with what is a very cool benchmark. And I know we talk sometimes about benchmarks. We mostly don't talk about them because they're crazy technical and it's really hard to explain to people what they are. But this benchmark is called Vending Bench from a company called Anden Labs. And the idea with this is they have given an AI agent the ability to manage a vending machine. And you know, with vending machines, in a lot of ways, there's a scenario where like you're basically just ordering things. You get somebody to come and install it, and then you kind of decide when you need more stuff. And Kevin, it's not doing terrible so far. I think one way to look at it is like this will be a good proof point for how AI agents are able to work going forward, because if suddenly, you know, it gets much better at filling this, or it knows what people want and it's able to bring new product in and then start making more money, like it figures out like the best pathway to like what you can charge more for or you can't. It's a very cool way to use AI in the real world and to kind of prove as to what is going to work.
It's just going to be the next grind set. There's going to be the AI gutter cleaning agent, the next like coin operated laundromat bot, and then the self-service car wash. Those are the hustles that I get the most.
Yeah, and if you look at this, like there is a whole leaderboard, right? So they go through all these different models and they've set up different ways to look at it, you know, what's made money, what hasn't made money. There's like things that I think Claude 3.5 Sonnet is in the lead on the net worth right now, you know what I mean? So anyway, it's a very cool way to kind of see things going forward and kind of look at how agents could work in the real world.
One little video that I saw that kind of tickled me, Gavin, was I've seen in the past like artists who have kids that will sketch a drawing of like, you know, a human with horns and 3 legs, or a dog that's got cow spots or whatever on it. And then the artist's parent brings their child's drawing to life, or they have professional artists do that. And I love those stills. Well, somebody did that with video now, and they're taking, I'll just say interesting children's drawings of various animals and then running them through AI to give them texture and fur and add color and depth to the scene, and then using video models to make them move about. And it just like the half marathon robots, some of these things move in very cursed ways.
Yeah, so this was shared by Venture Twins, and I think people are trying to figure out where this came from originally. It sounds like that there was an artist who made the children's animals into like these kind of looks, and the animation happened via AI. But either way, it's a really cool example of what you can do with AI video and taking weird things, because it does give them physics that are strange, right? Because if you have a horse that's going to move with weird little legs, that's how it's going to move overall.
I think it actually performs pretty well, though. Like
I think so too.
The one with the spotted cow that has a weird like center udder that comes down from it, like you can watch it sway. Like the model does a good job of intuiting this. But this is the sort of thing, like if you're a parent out there and you do have drawings, like go and experiment and do this sort of stuff.
Absolutely. And you can animate a lot of this stuff very easily if you upload a picture of your kids. All right. And then there is a great video that I saw on Reddit that is titled Geriatric Meltdown. This is just a good classic AI video where they took a bunch of old people and they turned them into monster trucks. So this is a very fun kind of example of what you could do with a good imagination and AI.
Hit breaker, and everyone's favorite monster mobility scooter, Hellbear. Your brain Geriatric Meltdown 2000.
Pretty great. So, you know, this is the fun thing that we always love to shout out people who are doing really awesome stuff. This is from, great name, by the way. This is from Johnny Cobrablade in the AI video subreddit. I love the AI video subreddit.
Thank you to Johnny Cobrablade for posting that to Reddit. The top post is that Johnny Darrell created it. And I don't know, maybe they're the same Johnny. Maybe these Johnnies have Voltron, but Johnny Darrell on Instagram has, it looks like a bunch of cool AI videos on their profile. So shout out to there. And then the comment beneath that, Gavin, says like, this is an amazing video. Did you use the cutting edge tool Astra to create it? You might Wow, there's so many people talking about it, Gavin.
Get out of my head. All right, everybody. We will see you all next week. We've got so many cool things we're working on right now, but we can't wait to talk more about that. We are going to be letting you know very soon.
AIforhumans.show. Go to AIforhumans.show. Sign up for our newsletter. It's free, baby.
Free, baby. All right, we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.